Hello and welcome to Prove Through You. My name is Malika, and here on this channel, my goal is that we will walk by faith and grow in what we know so that God's faithfulness can be proved through us. So welcome back. Today is Thoughtful Thursdays, and in the month of August, on Thursdays, we are just taking practical steps on corporate and business professional tasks. So if you are late to the channel, there's more videos over on the playlist, and we have been talking about job searching, resumes, interview skills, and today we are going to be talking about time management. So for the key scripture for our Thoughtful Thursdays is Colossians, the 3rd chapter and the 23rd verse, where we are going to work as unto the Lord. And that just means we're going to operate in a spirit of excellence. We're going to put our best foot forward. We're going to make sure that we have clarity and we are using discernment. And then also we want to leave the workplace a lot better than when we found it, just by trying to honor God in everything that we are doing in the business world. Whether you are the employer or the employee, whether you're in HR or you're at entry level, how can we just show the character and honor of God wherever we are in these corporate tasks? So for today, we are going to be talking about time management. So time management is just making sure that you are being a good steward over your work hours or your work schedule. So maybe you work a 9 to 5, maybe you work from 10 to 10, maybe you work 4 10s and then you get the rest of the week off. However you do it, the time management is just a reminder to be a good steward over those working hours. Now, I've kind of been in the mindset of where if I'm working 8 hours, I'm working a full 8 hours. From the time I log on to the time I log off, I'm just working, doing something related to work and just making sure that I've dotted all of my I's and I've crossed all of my T's. But what I've come to find out is sometimes that leads to burnout. Sometimes that leads to you overworking yourself. And unfortunately, sometimes it leads to you being undervalued. So when you are being a good steward of your time management, you also want to make sure that spiritually you are using your discernment. And then, of course, you want to make sure you're abiding by, the rules and regulations of the company. But you also want to make sure that you are listening to your body. So if you are someone who does a lot of work on computers and screens, are you making sure that you are doing blinking exercises? Are you making sure that, maybe every 30 minutes or an hour, you're taking your eyes off of the screen, focusing on something else before you re-engage? Because over time, so much screen time, unless you have those glasses with the reflective coating and things like that, it can do some damage to your eyes. So even if you are sitting in a posture, if you have a desk job and you're sitting for 8 hours or 7.5 hours, get up and do stretches at your desk. Rotate your limbs a little bit, swivel from the left to the right, but do something to break up the monotony of your 8-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour shift. If you're in a position to be able to do that, if you are in a position where you have to be aware and alert, God bless you. Thank you for your service. But here are some ways that we can practice time management. So the examples that I really wanted to look at were emails and communication, projects and time frames and deadlines. So when it comes to emails and communications, what tends to happen is if you are not being a good steward over your inbox, over your emails, you will get bogged down with hundreds of unread emails. You may end up missing the most important emails that you should have responded to. Maybe they're a little bit more time sensitive, but what you can do is come up with some type of schedule as to how you want to filter through those emails. So you could do 15 minutes at the end of your shift every day to just go through those emails, see what needs to be deleted, see what needs to be stored in a separate folder. Is there anything that you needed to follow up on? If you don't want to carve out 15 minutes either at the start or the end of your day, you can do that at the start or the end of your week and just simply set aside 30 minutes to go through those emails, delete the ones that you don't need, respond to the ones that don't have like a time frame, that aren't time sensitive, but make sure that you have some type of time management once it comes to filtering and cleaning out your inbox. That way you're not bogged down with the reply all responses or the FYIs that are no longer necessary or relevant to the task that you're doing. Now, if you're like me, the first time I tried to implement that, I felt a little guilty because I'm so used to being in a production environment. And so production is important. So you do want to make sure that you're meeting your goals, but cleaning out your email, staying organized with that communication, that is a part of the job function, because that gives you the opportunity to make sure you didn't miss anything that was time sensitive. It gives you the opportunity to keep track of the projects that you're managing, of those special requests that you're managing. So that would be the first thing that I would probably suggest, is just set aside 15 or 30 minutes in your day, whether at the beginning or the end, and just filter through and organize your inbox, your email box, your chats. If you guys do like Skype or WebEx or Microsoft Teams or something like that, see if there's a way for you to filter out the unnecessary communication and keep only what's important to your job tasks, to your future job, and also to those special projects that you may be a part of. Another thing you can do is utilize the calendars that are a part of most email chains. So Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Outlook, even Google has calendars. And what you can do is you can block off certain chunks of your time, and that will allow you the opportunity to let other people know, hey, I'm busy with a work task or a doctor's appointment or a manager meeting or something like that. And that would help you as well. One of the ways that I use my work calendar is I will use it for a reminder for those big items and those little items. You guys know from the previous videos, I love taking notes. I'm a planner girl, but sometimes it helps to have an electronic copy. So with my workload, sometimes I may have 10 or 12 items for the week that have to get done. And yes, I feel like I will remember them all, but especially the time sensitive ones, I always make sure that I put a calendar reminder to myself at least 2 days before the deadline. So that really just helps me kind of take a look at my week. What do I have going ahead of myself? That will let me know what meetings I need to decline. It helps me filter through the projects that I will or will not accept for that week. So that's another good way that you can use your email box, your inbox. You can use that calendar to set reminders, not just for meetings, but special projects that you may have to do, email follow-ups that you need to do, or even an email cleanup. So that would be a good way that you can use that email box. And also, since we're talking about emails and it comes to time management, if you are someone who has to do a lot of electronic communication, or if you are communicating with a manager or a higher up, or even if it's a coworker and it's something project related or very important, the first thing you want to remember is to keep it short, sweet, and to the point. When it comes to communicating in a professional corporate environment, most times if you are communicating in an upward position, they don't really want to read through all of those details. It's just, okay, well, why are you emailing me? What is it that I can do for you? Hit me with the highlights. If you want to make sure you're catching their attention, look at what your subject or the title of your email is. Make sure that the most important keywords are what is inserted in the subject, and then either highlight them in the body of the email or make sure that you put them at the very top of the email. Because you don't want the deadline, the payment information, the time frames to be all the way at the bottom, and people are just going through emails trying to filter because the attention span isn't there, or because there are other projects that require a higher priority than yours. So if you're ever sending out an email, especially when you are doing project review, if you are handling time sensitive information, you want to put the most important information at the top of the email. You want to make sure that the subject of the email is eye-catching and make it short, sweet, and to the point. If necessary, if you feel like they need more information, they need more details, you can simply just attach those details. You don't have to include them in the body of the email. Create an attachment so that way if they have more questions, you can let them know that, hey, I've given you a more detailed outline or a detailed breakdown in the attachment above, but here are the highlights. And that will help people filter through their emails, and you may find that you get more responses that way when you are just short, sweet, to the point, hit them with the highlights, and then give them the opportunity to engage with you as a response to the email that you have sent. And then finally, my last tip when it comes to email and communication. what you will notice is most email inboxes will send you notifications. If you are not working on a lot of time sensitive projects and you're not expecting to get any urgent emails, you can silence those notifications. Most of the time, I just glance down at the bottom of my screen to see, again, who is it from and what's the subject and what does the first line say. If it's not related to a project that I'm on, if it's not related to something that I'm specifically looking for, normally I would just kind of let that go. But again, when it comes to emails, I try to set aside 1 hour of my day to respond to those incoming emails that were not urgent. So just use kind of your discernment and try to figure out, okay, well, what's the best time for me to go through my emails as a cleanup? When's the best time for me to just pause throughout my day to catch up on my emails so that they don't escape me? If you're not a morning person and you need coffee, tea, and water, maybe 8 o'clock in the morning isn't the best time for you to be going through your emails. If you know towards the end of the day, you kind of feel a little sluggish and emails are just going to bore you to sleep, maybe not at the end of the day either. Maybe pick somewhere in the middle of your day to break up the monotony of your work, if that is something that you are fortunate enough and able to do. So just try to set aside some time specifically for emails and those communications that are needed throughout the day in the workplace. And that's my first time management tip and topic. The second thing I want to talk about is when it comes to time management as far as projects go. We can't always assume that people know what we need. So don't be afraid to verbalize that. The number one thing I always do, I ask clarity questions. I never want to assume that we're speaking the same term. You said friend, I said friend, but we were talking about two different friends. You said this Friday, I thought you meant next Friday because tomorrow was Friday. So you need to ask those questions for clarity purpose. Especially if someone is giving you that responsibility, if they're delegating tasks to you and your name is on it, I'm a firm believer in allowing my work to speak for myself. Okay, because the Bible says that your gifts will make room for you and God will cause your name to go before great men and great women and they will come to you and bless you. And I'm all for that. But I also believe that your reputation oftentimes precedes you. And if people know that you do great work, they know that you are very meticulous. They know that you are very specific. They know that you believe in quality over quantity. A lot of times your work reputation will precede your actual reputation. And so one of the things I always do when it's a project or an assignment or a new job and a new task, I ask clarity questions. I want to make sure that I have an understanding of what's expected of me, and I want to make sure that we're on the same page with these expectations. The next thing that I would encourage you to do is ask if there is a priority ranking. So if your manager or someone else in the area hands you a project and you're already working on another project and you know at the end of the week there's a third project, don't be afraid to ask your manager or whomever is assigning these projects, is there a priority ranking? Which one of these projects, since they're all taking place at the same time, which one of these assignments is the most priority? Which one should I be looking at first? Or is there a time frame associated with these? Because then you can rank it yourself. But I almost always, number one, ask clarity questions. And number two, I ask about priority and urgency. If they don't have a date, if there's no urgency to it, then it will just have to fall in line underneath the other priorities that I have or any other urgent responsibilities and tasks and assignments that I have. So don't assume. And because, again, your name is on it, ask all of the questions that you need to ask to make sure that you are setting yourself up for success when it comes to time management of your projects, because there are deliverables, there are time frames, there are deadlines. And I used to always tell my manager, the only reason why I want to be called in her office or his office would be for a promotion or a raise. I don't want to be in the hot seat. I don't want to be called out for any errors, and so that's why I humble myself and ask the necessary questions. If anybody knows anything about me, they know I like to learn. I want to make sure I have clear objectives. I want to make sure that I know what's expected of me as I take on this project and these roles and these responsibilities. And what that will let them know is, number one, you take initiative. Number two, you believe in quality. And number three, your work matters to you. And those are all great qualities of both an employer and an employee. We want to make sure that, again, we're putting our best foot forward and we are working as unto the Lord, to make sure that we are operating in a spirit of excellence. The other thing that I would probably suggest when it comes to project management is time blocking. Look at the project, see which ones are going to require more of your time, which ones can you knock out within the next hour or so. Because if you are, let's say you get more of your energy and your drive in the afternoon, maybe you should use that part of your day to do the bigger projects, the one that require more focus, more thought. And then in the morning, you can do those really quick projects that you can just push out. Okay, I really don't have to be intensely focused on it because I can do this. I know this like the back of my hand. So maybe change the time of day that you're doing those projects and you're completing those assignments to make sure that, number one, you're putting your best foot forward, and then number two, you're doing it as accurately as you possibly can. Okay, the next thing that I wanted to talk about is, once you get finished doing all of those projects and assignments, try to carve out about 15 or 20 minutes to just reflect on the projects, their roles, their responsibilities, reflect on what you've learned, and if there are any new skill sets or any levels of communication that you were able to actively engage in. So perhaps you were able to present some information, or you had the opportunity to lead a training presentation, or you had to be the one to communicate with different levels of management just because of this specific project or assignment. Take that time of reflection and make sure that you add those skills to your resume. Because even though that's not part of your title, it is a new skill that you have learned. And you would be surprised at how many people have said, oh, well, I didn't know this job title did this. Well, yes, we do that and then some because of the projects that I was afforded the opportunity to be a part of. So that allows you to set yourself apart. You don't have to have the standardized roles and responsibilities when you've been afforded the opportunity to learn new skill sets, to work with different levels of management, and to learn new processes and have those opportunities. So try to remember to update your resume as you complete those projects and assignments, and it will benefit you greatly in the long run. And finally, the third thing that I really wanted to talk about when it comes to time management is managing time frames and deadlines. And again, if you're on production, maybe there's an hourly count that you need to keep up with, or maybe there's a daily count. And at the end of the week, you just have to make sure that you're meeting your quota. See what obstacles may be in your way. What's preventing you from reaching that hourly, daily, or weekly quota? Is there some type of difficulty that you're encountering? Is there some type of miscommunication? What have you noticed? And number one, have you taken that to your manager? First of all, I would pray and say, okay, well, Lord, can you help me find the words to effectively communicate this, to relay this information to whomever's in charge, so that when I speak it, it doesn't come off condescending, it doesn't come off manipulative, it doesn't come off as rude or non-cooperative. I'm just trying to find the best way to make sure that I'm meeting my production goals, make sure I'm meeting my department goals, and I'm asking you for help. I'm humbling myself and asking for help. Because pride will only get you so far. You would be surprised at how far you can get by being humble and letting people know that you don't know, but you're willing to learn. It's not that I'm unwilling to learn. It's not that I'm unteachable. I just simply don't know. But if you happen to have the time, I would love to learn more about this process from you. If there's a job aid or a manual that you feel would help me kind of better equip myself for this position, I would love if you would send it to me. If you have time to set up a meeting, so maybe you could mentor me in this area, I would love the opportunity to have that experience and have that time with you. And people are more willing to help you when you're humble enough to say, hey, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. Not I don't know because nobody took the time to teach me, or I don't know because people are all out for themselves. And part of that may be true, but you don't have to present yourself as one of those people. Just simply say, hey, I don't know, but I would love the opportunity to learn more about it. If you have a moment, could you partner with me? Or if not, could you partner me with someone else? If that's not an option, simply send me the job aid, send me the manufacturer, send me the manual, and I can look at that information for myself and then carve out time to do that. Be a man of your word, be a woman of your word. If they're expecting you to do something, do what you can to make sure that you're meeting those time frames and deadlines. Another thing that I wanted to mention, even in the midst of time frames and deadlines, do you have intentional pauses or breaks in your day? Because sometimes procrastination can make us feel like, okay, well, we don't have time for a break. We don't have time to go to the water fountain. We don't have time to get up and stretch our legs. But that's often because we have mismanaged the time that we had before the deadline. But pausing is great. Sometimes if you kind of take a minute and just walk to the window or take a lap around the office really quickly, or even go and get some water, you give your mind a chance to rest. You give your eyes a chance to rest. You give your hands a chance to rest. You give your voice a chance to rest. And so it allows you to come back a little bit more refreshed. Now, when it comes to customer service reps, it's hard for you to kind of get off of the phone. But if you're able in between calls to maybe play some calming music or have a little squishy stress ball, or take your eyes off the screen and look at a scripture, or put quotes on your desk and on your wall so that you can reset yourself, so that you can speak the word of the Lord over yourself throughout that hectic day, I feel like that would be helpful. That would be a quick pause that will kind of help you switch gears a little bit, because at the end of the day, you just want to kind of detox a little bit. You want the opportunity to unwind, and you need to break up that pattern. And so I feel like by taking an intentional break, whether it's 2 minutes or 5 minutes or on your lunch break, make sure that you are being intentional about kind of having those midday resets. Giving yourself the opportunity to breathe, give yourself the opportunity to intake something positive, give yourself the opportunity to, like I said, just read the word of God, or post maybe 3 scriptures up for the week, because you know what you have in front of you. So by walking to the restroom or taking a water break, playing some calming music, that will definitely help. Another thing that you can do is, make sure you're stretching. If you've been sitting down all day, do some stretches, get your limbs moving a little bit, hit a little break dance, get something going on, or just stand up and lift up your feet, or while you're sitting still, do some high knees at your desk, get your body moving, wake yourself up a little bit. Don't rush to the restroom or rush to the break room. Be intentional about slowing down if you have that opportunity to do so throughout the day. And when it comes to time frames and deadlines, you can write those down in a notepad. You can put them on sticky notes. You can put them on your calendars. You can put them in your planners. But whatever you do, if at all possible, try your best to make sure that you are meeting those deadlines, or you can have it completed before the deadline occurs. You want to try your best not to get in a position where you have the opportunity to miss a deadline, because you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. When they are asking you, if your management team or the project manager is asking you, well, how long do you think it may take for you to get this done? What projected time frame do you believe that you will get this done? Instead of just calling out a random date and a random time, pull up that schedule that we just talked about. Look at your work calendar, look at your work planner. If you know that you are swamped for the next 2 or 3 weeks, just be honest with them. Honestly, by looking at my calendar, I don't think I'm going to be able to even begin this project until at least 3 weeks. Now, if it is a priority, I don't mind shifting my other projects, or if there's someone else that you have in mind who could possibly finish up this first project, I would love the opportunity to come on board. But if it's not an urgent matter, or we don't have someone else to assist me with my other projects, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to start this project until at least 3 weeks out. And they will respect you for being honest. Is it going to disappoint some people? Absolutely. But guess what? It's also going to give somebody else an opportunity to step up, because you can only do so much. You can only do so much. And I am speaking from personal experience. I love learning things. I'm always a team player. I didn't mind doing that, but it got to a point where I began to get overwhelmed, not just because of work, but I was also in school full time and I was raising my child, trying to spend time with my family. And it got to the point where I could not manage all of the projects and requests that they wanted me to handle. And so I just simply had to pray about it. I said, okay, God, well, I've never turned down a project before. I don't even know how to communicate this with my team, with my manager. Lord, will you just give me the words? You know, sincerely in my heart, I would love to do it, but I just don't have the capacity. I don't have the bandwidth. I don't even have the man hours, the woman hours to get it done. And so I was just very transparent and honest with my manager. And I was like, hey, you know, I thank you so much for considering me for this project. Any other time I would love to do it. I said, but if I can be honest with you, I am just simply overwhelmed. I have 3 projects over here. I have X amount of hours that I have to dedicate to mentoring and training. And then I have XYZ to do over here. I would love to make sure that this gets done. And I thank you for having the confidence in me to do so. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to decline this opportunity. Or is there someone else that maybe I can shift some of my responsibilities to temporarily, and then that way I could assist here? And they said to me, they said, well, this is the first time you've ever said, number 1, you're overwhelmed, and number 2, you're not able to do it. And because I've worked with you long enough and I know your work ethic, I believe you when you say you don't have the capacity to do it. Now, is there someone that you feel is capable to either take up this new project, or is there someone that you would recommend to take on your previous projects? And what that showed me in that moment was, number 1, that I was respected. My work value was respected, and that they understood that if I said I was overwhelmed or I didn't have the bandwidth, they knew that I was not someone who would take advantage of that situation. And so that's why we have to remember, like Colossians 3:23, do your work as unto the Lord, and people will see that. People will see what type of work that you put forth. They will see your work ethic. Why? Because they see the God in you. That's the light that is shining. That's the gift that's going to make room for you. And because they know that you're not manipulative, they know you're not trying to steal company time. They know you're not a lazy worker. They know for sure that, hey, if this person says they're busy, I believe them. I believe them. So let's see what else we can take off of their plate. And so I was just so grateful to God that that conversation went well, because again, never had I turned down a project before. I'm just always willing to be a team player and learn and make sure that it gets done correctly the first time, so that everybody's a happy customer, self included. And then that helps me grow in my skill set. It helps me grow in the company. And it's always something good to have on your resume. Okay. So those are the tips that I had today. That was a conversation surrounding time management. And if you haven't already, I really want to encourage you to go back and look at the playlist. Like I said, we've been talking about job searching, job skills, interviews, resumes, and hopefully something that I shared in those other videos would resonate with you. And if they did, feel free to leave a comment below. If you have any questions, place them below. I would love the opportunity to help you in any way that I can. And I thank you so much for allowing me this time in your space on your YouTube channel. And I hope that we get the opportunity to just continue to building this relationship to see what else God can prove through us. And so thank you so much for joining me for the conclusion of the Prove Through You corporate task for the month of August on our Thoughtful Thursdays. I pray that you have an amazing day, and God bless you as you continue to walk by faith and grow in what you know, so that God's faithfulness can be proved through you. Have a blessed day.